It's Jarred Up January. So in this video, I am making maple bourbon pecan pie in a jar. But before we get into that, if you're new to my channel, I'm Denise Jordan, and I teach women how to make and keep a home. So if you want to learn more about running a household, hit that subscribe button and double tap that little bell icon so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Okay, let's get started. Pecan pie is one of my absolute favorites. And then Leisa Sutton on Sutton's Daze showed a maple bourbon pecan pie that she canned the filling for, and then she made the pie and showed us how to do that. So I am planning a big dinner for Go Red for Women's Heart Health, and I thought I would serve pecan pie as my dessert. And yes, I know pecan pie is not necessarily calorie friendly or heart healthy, but we are having pecan pie for dessert. Everything else will be heart healthy. But what do we need for our maple bourbon pecan pie? Well, let me show you. Well, we need 1.5 pounds of pecans, and I have chopped pecans, so I won't have to worry about chopping those up. We need 3 cups of brown sugar, 2 1/4 cups of maple syrup, and you can see here I've got real maple syrup, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 6 tablespoons of Kentucky bourbon, yes people, Kentucky bourbon, and then 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract, and this is real vanilla extract that my son brought me back from Spain. So there's that. So these are the things we're going to need to actually make the pie. So now let me show you what we're going to need to get it in the jar. Now, what do we mean by jar it up? Well, put it in a canning jar. We're going to can it. And this particular recipe is going to be processed by water bath canning. I've not yet tried pressure canning, which you do for meats and other kinds of things, but I do enjoy water bath canning. It's the easiest form for me. So that's what we're going to be doing with this maple bourbon pecan pie in a jar. So what do I need to get that in the jar? Well, let me show you. So the biggest thing I'm going to be using is this, my water bath canner. And I just picked this up at Walmart. It was like less than $20. And it has a lid. Inside it has a little rack that you would put your jars on, and you can always sit it up there like that when you lift the jars up out of the water. And then down here, I've got my jar lifter. I've got this little magnet that I can use to lift my lids out of the hot water. And then this is just another little thingy that I use to lift different things. So I always get it out when I'm going to can. I may not always use it, but I like to have it out. My funnel, which will go in top of my jars like that. And then I've got out 6 jelly jars. Now this recipe is supposed to make 4 pints, but I always like to have more jars ready than not enough. So I've got out 6 jars, and I've checked them all around each of them and checked that their edges and all that were nice and neat and not cracked or chipped or anything like that. And I've already washed them. And then I've got 6 of the canning screw tops that's going to go on, and I've got 6 lids. They've been washed, and they're going to be sitting in a warm water bath until I'm ready to use them. And just as I put those jelly jars in the water bath, I realized I had the wrong size jars. I had half-pint jars, so I had to get out my pint-sized jars, wash them up, and then put them in the water bath. So I've got my jars in the water bath, and right now I just want the water to come to a boil. And once I take them out of this water bath, I'll use the same water bath to sterilize the pie filling. And then I'll take them out and when I'm ready to use them. And I'll let these things just kind of sit over here to the side until I'm ready for them. Now, one of the first things that I need to do is to toast my pecans. So I'm going to put them in the oven on this baking sheet for about 5 minutes, get them toasted up. And then if there's any large ones, I'll break them up. But for the most part, they're already pretty small because I did buy chopped pecans to kind of eliminate having to chop them up myself. I'll just spread these around with clean hands. I'll pop these in the oven for about 5 minutes. All right, let's get these out. All right, so now we're going to put the pecans in the pan and get ready to start cooking them. And I'll tell you what, these toasted pecans smell pretty good. And in case you're wondering what kind of paper this is, it's just parchment paper. So now that I've got the pecans in here, I'm going to add my brown sugar, my half a teaspoon of salt, 2 1/4 cup of maple syrup. So I'll get this all stirred up and now I'll put it on the heat. And I will stir this for quite a while. This is going to cook until it comes to a rolling boil, a boil that we can't stir down. And when it gets to that point, I'll add my Kentucky bourbon and my vanilla extract. My 6 tablespoons of Kentucky bourbon and 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. Now here's the thing about the Kentucky bourbon. The alcohol cooks off, but it leaves a great flavor. So don't worry about that. Now, if you absolutely positively don't want to put it in, you wouldn't have to, but just keep in mind the alcohol cooks off and it just leaves a great flavor. And I've got my jars over here just kind of sitting in hot water, waiting until I'm ready to fill them. Now I'm going to turn off the heat and just continue to stir for a bit longer. Well, apparently when I added my Kentucky bourbon and my vanilla extract, the camera had stopped working because I don't show that. But when I added that bourbon, it just like fizzed up. So this is what it looks like with the bourbon added. Okay, so now it is time to get my jars set up and then we're going to ladle this into the jars. And I tell you what, this is just really looking amazing. Just amazing. I'll get these jars out. And I didn't want to get them out till I was ready to use them. Starting to thicken up a bit. So I'm going to divide this evenly between the 4 jars. It's supposed to make 4 pints. And then I'll use this in the top of my jars so that I don't get pie filling all over the sides and that kind of thing. But we'll do the best we can because I tend to be a little messy sometimes. bring my lids over. Well, Lisa was right. It only made 3 full pints of pie filling and then some left over. So I ended up taking some out of one jar and making sure these 3 jars were full so that I would have enough for a full pie. And I think what I'll do is I'll use this tomorrow in some oatmeal. This will just be delicious in oatmeal. So I'm going to set that aside. But for now, I've got some vinegar and I have a paper towel, and I'm going to clean off my jars, because as you saw, I did drip on my jars. I made kind of a mess, so I need to clean off the tops of my jars, and these jars are hot, with some vinegar. Oh, and before I do that, let me show you that I do want to run this around inside to debubble it. I almost forgot that. But you do want to run that around inside, and it is hot, hot, hot. And then when this cools, after it processes for 15 minutes in the water bath, and then the jars kind of pop, pop, pop as they seal, it'll be shelf stable for a year. And once you open it, it'll be stable in the fridge for 3 weeks. All right, so now let's clean these jars off. And I don't know why I thought I would get 4 full jars when Lisa didn't. I mean, who's the newbie here? And I've already checked the edges to make sure there's no cracks or nicks or anything like that. But you need to clean the top of the jars because you want to make sure that your lids seal properly. So I'll make sure to wipe down anything off the sides of the jars too before I put them in the water bath. And then we'll just screw those on finger tight. Not super tight, just finger tight. I'll just wipe these jars down with a little vinegar to get any sweetness off that I might have dripped on there. So they're in the water bath. Let's get the lid on and we'll process for 15 minutes. There's my timer. So my jars have been processing for 15 minutes, so I'm going to turn it off. Take the lid off. And lift these out. Hear that little pop? They're sealing already. So here we have my 3 pints of Maple Bourbon Pecan Pie in a jar. Just look at those. Don't they look amazing? So right now they're piping hot, and I've heard 2 of them seal. This one I see it's depressed. This one's down. This one still needs to seal. I heard the first 2 pop as I took them out. So we'll hear this one pop in just a little bit. So I'm going to let them sit here overnight, and then when they sit overnight, I'll take the outer screw lid off and just leave the little inner lid on. So that way I won't end up with a false seal. I'll be able to tell if there's a problem with the seal or not, and then I'll mark the dates on the top of that lid. Well, it's been 24 hours, and so now it's time to take my caps off of my jars. And that is so that my jars don't develop what's known as a false seal. This way, when I look at the jars right away, I can tell if they're sealed or not. And they won't, like, the lids won't still be down just because the screw cap is on. And I am just so pleased with the way these turned out. Now, full disclosure, I was so excited to make this maple bourbon pecan pie in a jar that I should have read the directions a little bit more carefully. So when you get ready to make it, let me encourage you to read the directions twice and watch the video twice before you get started, because I realized later on that when I was looking at this, and you notice that like my nuts are up here and I've got more of the syrup down here, and I went back and looked at Leisa's video and hers didn't look like that. And I thought, well, what did I do wrong? And I realized that I was so excited to use this pitcher, which I like to use when I'm pouring things out. And I have used it enough to know where the 3-cup measurement is, that when I measured out my 3 cups of brown sugar, I then measured out 3 cups of maple syrup, and I was only supposed to use 2 1/4 cups of maple syrup. So I've got more syrup in here than what I needed. So what I'm going to need to do when I actually get ready to make the pie, once I get it mixed up, and there are some instructions on how to do that, but once I get ready to mix it up to make the pie, I think I'm probably going to have to add some more pecans just to make sure that I have enough. So there's that. But all in all, I'm still really pleased with them. And then I had a little bit left over like this. Let me show you. So I had about this much left over in this jar after these were filled. So I used part of it this morning for oatmeal. Oh my goodness, it gave the oatmeal such a nice flavor. I like pecans in my oatmeal anyway, but to have that maple flavoring, the brown sugar, and the vanilla flavoring in the oatmeal was delicious. So I can see already another way that I'm going to be able to use this pie filling mixture, and I can certainly see where it might be really good on some sticky buns. And since it is jarred up January, and I did make some other things that I put in a jar. Now I made these last month, but I'm just so proud of them. I want to show them to you, and I want to share something else about that. So let me get those. So in case you're wondering what these are jars of turkey broth. And these are the wide mouth jars rather than the regular mouth jars, which are really good for freezing bone broth in. And this bone broth was frozen and not canned. You can't do water bath canning with this product. So it's not canned, it's frozen, and the lid that's on this is just a lid like this, you know. It's kind of like those lids you get on peanut butter, but it's not. It's a lid that I bought specifically to fit on these jars, and they go in the freezer nicely. So rather than trying to freeze them with your regular metal canning lids, you can freeze them in these. So for Jarred Up January, I'm showing off my Maple Bourbon Pecan Pie in a jar, as well as my turkey bone broth. And make sure you write the date on the top of your jar. There's a spot on those lids where you can put the date in so that you know how long you've had it and when it's time to rotate that forward. So now I will contact Leisa Sutton at Sutton's Daze through the Facebook group and let her know about my boo-boo and ask her if she has any thoughts on what I should do differently. Like I plan on just adding more pecans when I get ready to actually make the pie. She may have some other thoughts on that, but I'll find out what those are. And when I do make the pie, I'll share with you what those thoughts were. So again, thank you, Leisa at Sutton's Daze, for hosting this Jarred Up January. It has been so much fun. And I found another one of your recipes, your winter jam, that I'm going to try because I've got some cranberries in the fridge, some fresh cranberries that I need to use up. And I think it'll be perfect for that. If you are not familiar with Leisa Sutton at Sutton's Daze, I will link her channel below. She is the leader of the Jarred Up January and a whole group of other women who are into canning, water bath, as well as pressure canning and preserving and dehydrating foods and all that kind of thing. So I'll link her channel below and a couple of the other ladies below that I'm most familiar with. And if you want to learn more about water bath canning, my friend Mary at Mary's Nest is the water bath canning queen. She has a series on her channel about how to do water bath canning. I will link her channel with that series below so that you can check her out. And then I've got a few other videos that you might want to see, like for example my low sugar strawberry jam, how to make that, and I canned that up using the water bath canning process. So I will link that below as well. And then Mary's also showed me how to make my own vinegar, and so I will link that video below and a few of those above as well. And if you like this video, please check out my low sugar.
Here are some videos of video I found on the web. Take a look.
My Siri on my iPad all of a sudden just started talking to me. And oh, let me show you one more thing. Just in case you're interested in some of the equipment that I used, the pots that I used was my Curtis Stone stock pot, and I liked this particular set of cookware because it is so easy to cook with, it's easy to clean up, and it's got this beautiful Duradiamond non-stick surface, so I'll link that below just in case you're interested. And then this pretty little picture right here. I'm always trying to spy out what I see in other women's kitchens, so if you've been peeping at this picture, I got this as a gift from my friend Mary at Mary's Nest. She knows how I like pretty little pictures, and she sent this to me, and I checked it out, and it measures 3 cups perfectly. So when I need to have 3 cups of a liquid, I like to use that just because I like to use pretty pictures. And then this little picture right here, get the drift, pretty pictures, I picked up thrifting, and it's just cute. So when I need to measure something out, sometimes I'll just pour it in here, like I'll measure it and then put it in here and use it to actually pour into my recipe or whatever, just because I like using it, because after all, what am I saving it for? So there's that. And then this set of measuring spoons I just ordered about a month ago, and I am finding that I do really like them. And the reason why I ordered them was because I wanted some spoons that they would fit into the spice jars. And so if you take a look at these spoons, and look how they nest in one another. They're almost magnetic, but all of them except for this one fits into almost all spice jars. For example, this is the tablespoon, and it fits nicely into this spice jar, this size. But it doesn't fit into this one. But the teaspoon one does. So there's just that. But I am enjoying using these, and I will link them below just in case you're interested. And then this set of canning supplies is just a basic set, and you can just get that at almost any store. I'll link a basic kit down below just in case you're interested. And just so you know, I've raised 3 children. I've managed a home for more than 45 years, and I am a nurse by profession. So if you want to learn more about making and keeping a home, cooking and cleaning and laundry, subscribe. I would love to have you as a member of the TNT community. In the meantime, this is Denise Jordan saying goodbye. I will see you next time.